Tilder!
What is this? This is the Zeppon Slider motor. How much does it cost? Anywhere from $220 for the motor by itself or $400 when you buy it in a bundle. Can pull up to 10 pounds. You can set up waypoints. It can repeat those waypoints automatically. You can actually use all the motor's features with or without the smartphone app. Operates continuously for 12 hours on my large Sony NP-F battery. It's super silent at normal filming distances. Do I recommend it? If you've been waiting for a motorized slider, definitely yes.
Done. Roll that intro.
What's going on, everybody? You're watching Too Long Didn't Read Filmmaker, where the answers comes first, the reasons come last, but we're constantly and always still learning. So today we're going to find out whether or not the Zeppon slider motor for their Micro 2 slider is going to be the right solution for you and your overall setup. I want to thank Zeppon for sending this out to me so I can provide you with my review today. Now, I'm pretty much going to be focusing on the motor itself because I've already talked about the slider, which you can see in the title card up here. So I'm basically going to be talking about how the motor can enhance the slider experience and to see if it's right for you. So if you already have the Micro 2 slider, to get the motor, it costs about $220. If you want to buy it as a bundle because you haven't bought the slider yet, then you can get it for $400. Now, there is another accessory that I highly suggest you get if you are a narrative filmmaker, which is the low profile mount. So you can get the entire bundle for $480. In terms of the motor, one of the major things about this motor is the fact that, yes, you can use a smartphone app, but the standout feature is the fact that you can use it without a smartphone app. And I'm going to talk about that later. So real quick, let's go through the smartphone app so you can know how to use it. Once you turn on the motor and load the app, you will be greeted with a scan devices screen. So simply what you're going to do is you're going to click on that little link button and you'll be linked up pretty quick and you'll see this opening screen. So right now the top one is the slider, and basically the little toggle wheel allows you to manually move the slider as fast as you want. So let's actually start looking at the bottom here, which is where you can set up to 5 different waypoints. So let's say I want the waypoint to start all the way to the left over here. So I'm going to move the slider all the way. And then at this point, I'm going to click on the little 1. And now it turns red, which means it now knows that's the set point. So then I'm going to move over. Let's go to the halfway point over here. And we will then simply click number 2. So now we have a waypoint, and you'll see that this little yellow has highlighted up. Basically, these little toggles up here, you can change the speed. You can either change it this way so that it's going to ramp up to the waypoint number 2, or maybe it starts fast and then it goes slow. Or if it's pretty much a horizontal line, that means it's going to maintain the same speed the entire way, and you can do that like so. And again, you can go up to 5 points. So let's continue moving over here, and let's say it has to go this way. That's waypoint number 3, and then let's make it go back this way, and that will be waypoint number 4. So we'll go pretty fast here because I don't want to spend too much time to show that. So we'll do some sort of curve like that, and we'll simply tell it to play. So right now it's going through each selection until it makes its way back to waypoint number 1. And you can actually see on the top left that it says it's going to take 18.5 seconds for it to complete this entire movement. All right, so now we're back to number 1. And over here on the left side is a repeat button, which means it's actually going to repeat everything, but I don't necessarily want it to repeat in 18 seconds. So if you hold waypoint number 4, it'll ask you, do you want to cancel it? You can cancel it. And then we'll cancel number 3 as well. So all we have is just 2. So in that case, I'll go ahead and tell it to play back and forth. So you can see that it's going to move its way to waypoint number 1, and then it's going to go back to waypoint number 2. Now they do have a time-lapse part of this whole app. I am not a time-lapse person by any means. The only time I actually use time-lapse is when I am doing my battery tests. So yes, you can connect your camera into this slider motor to do some other things. So I'm gonna let someone else talk about that because I just really don't really do a whole lot with time lapses. So now let's talk about how you can use it without the actual smartphone app. So there's a couple buttons on the motor. On the top, you're going to have a left and a right for your sliding motion. And then there's a multi-function button that also serves as your power button. So what you can actually do is with this multi-function power button, if you click it once slowly, you'll see these three little lights, and that's going to indicate how fast the slider is actually going to move for you. And then you can manually move it with the top arrow buttons left and right. But the magical sauce here is that you can actually set up two waypoints, a start and a finish, and then you can make the slider make this movement on its own. So what you're going to do is simply slide it to where you want the slider to start, double click the power button, and it's going to beep at you. Then you're going to slide all the way to wherever it is that you want to go, double click again, and now you have the two waypoints set. So for it to run its course, you can double click the power button one more time and it's going to start moving for you. This is extremely awesome because I know some people probably would have said, well, why would I want to press the arrow, let it slide, and then try to operate the camera with one hand? Well, they've thought about this. You don't have to. Set up the two waypoints, and then tell it to start and it's going to go. This is how I've actually been doing all my product B-roll shots, getting that smooth parallax, because it's super easy for me to just set the waypoint at the extreme left, the extreme right, have it run its course, and then simply operate the camera. Now, one additional feature that they talked about this motor is that it is firmware upgradable. That's pretty unique, and I would say I already know exactly the first feature they need to add. In the smartphone app, you can tell it to repeat the waypoint movements back and forth, but you can't do that with the motor without the smartphone app. So, Zeppin, I would say try to find a way to add this feature, whether you have to triple click the power button or double click the left button, double click the right button to enter into repeat mode. So then after I've set up my waypoints, it can just go back and forth, and I can do my product shots and don't have to like tap it and then operate the camera back and forth. So I think that would be extremely awesome, especially for people that are doing stuff for maybe interviews. Maybe they want that parallax to happen back and forth. And instead of using the smartphone app, they can just immediately set that up in the motor itself. So that's what I really love, the fact that they can do that. Speaking of if you're doing an interview and doing parallax, let's do a quick sound test if the motor is approximately 6 feet away, which is actually kind of close for an interview, but for the sake of argument, 6 feet seems to be my standard. So let's see what it sounds like from 6 feet away at the fastest speed possible. When using my large K-Star Sony NP-F battery test, I was actually able to get it to repeat at the highest speed possible back and forth with a pretty heavy setup, and it lasted for 12 hours. So what's the bottom line here? Is the Zeppon slider with the motor attachment something you should be thinking about for your overall filmmaking kit? And I have to say, definitely yes. If you're looking for a motorized slider and you're just coming into the game, $400 is really actually not that bad in comparison to other sliders that are motorized. So other ones might come in at about $350 some dollars or all the way up to $500, but they don't do that Edelkrone slide where the slider maybe is only 12 to 13 inches, but it can actually slide up to 21. This one does, making it very, very compact to take with you. Of course, the motor is going to add on to the length a little bit, but honestly, for it being able to do a 21-inch slide, that's perfectly good enough. Not only that, the build quality is solid. The slider itself, I really don't see it doing any weird rocking or dipping. It's smooth. Of course, you're going to have to make sure you put it on a very heavy-duty tripod. Don't put it on a carbon fiber tripod. You do need a nice heavy tripod if you want to use this to its full ability. But the fact that it can handle so much weight and then the motor can pull up 10 pounds. Most of us are using DSLR rigs these days, so it's not going to get up there that easily. And lastly, I love the fact that the motor does not require you to actually use the smartphone app at all. If you don't want to use your phone, you set up your waypoints and there you go. If you want to manually move the slider, there you go. And I hope with their next firmware update that they're going to find a way to tell the motor, hey, go into repeat mode so that we can just keep doing those repeatable slides back and forth for whatever it is that we are doing. And last but not least, there are other motors coming. There's the pan and tilt motor. I'm not sure if those are going to be separate or one single unit. And then there's going to be a focus pulling motor. Now, not so much for the focus pulling, but maybe you can. I would love to see all three of these motors have the same ability where you don't have to actually use the smartphone app. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it makes sense to me. So, let's say the pan motor. Pan waypoint number 1, pan waypoint number 2, you set up your slide waypoints, and somehow all of these are going to sync together. And therefore, when you hit the go button, you can basically get a parallax and have it do it over and over again for like an interview. And I guess the focus motor will actually make sense. You can set up your focus waypoint from A to B, and again, it can go back and forth. So you can get that nice dolly in, and it's going to be in focus the entire time. So Zeppon, I really hope that that's what you guys are trying to do, because if you are able to do it without a smartphone and with a smartphone, I think that just really opens up a lot of people to how they use it on their sets, whether it's a narrative filmmaking set, a YouTube set, or a corporate set. So otherwise, this is a pretty darn good slider. And hey, that is it for this week, everybody. If this video has made all the influence in your purchasing decisions, I would truly appreciate it if you check out my Amazon affiliate links down below. Again, this costs nothing extra to you. It just gives me a little compensation so I can continue making videos like this for you. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave it down below. I will get to them as fast as I can. And until then, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.